Hi, people. You are welcome to another edition of Unscripted with Tiwa Says. And you know how we do it. We talk about those controversial issues that nobody wants to talk about. And it's, unscripted. We just say it as it comes. And today I have a special guest in the house. His name is Dapuye. I hope I got that right.
Yeah, you did.
But I'm going to let him do the proper introductions himself. And then I'll tell you what we're going to talk about today. So can we meet you?
Yes, hello people. My name is Dapuye.
Mm.
I'm a physicist and an acoustician.
Hey, please, can you break that down for lay people like us?
Acoustics is basically, I just got involved in that field.
Okay.
So it's basically about like sound engineering in like a confined space or outdoor, right? So like for auditoriums, like studios, churches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you just engineer the sound to reduce the noise as much as possible.
Oh, wow.
And then enhance the actual sound.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But you mentioned two things. You said
physicist. My first degree is physics.
Oh.
So by the virtue of that, I'm a
physicist, but you are not practicing.
Yeah. Well, I worked in an engineering firm. Okay. So I applied, of course, engineering is like the application of physics.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
Okay, now, so you know who my guest is. So in case you need sound in your studio or something, this is the person to see. So today we are going to be talking about, guess what? We are talking about religion. The religion, the thing that they used to come and, as Yoruba will say, to ko wa lomi obe, like you come and carry our soup. So we are talking about religion and the Nigerian people. And I'm going to let my guest start. What do you think about religion in Nigeria?
Well, I'm going to be blunt mostly.
Yes, that's how we do it here.
Cool.
Say it as it is.
I'll start by saying religion is a scam. And more so for Black people, right? Because this is the device for colonization, right? And it's worse in the religious sphere because it is your spirituality. It is something not seen.
Yeah.
Right? So if someone controls that sphere of your life, he has you covered. Like, you see, so religion is, first off, like there are a lot of discrepancies in it. You understand? I'm going to start, I might just be jumping through, but I want to first define what God is. Right? When you say God, if you ask me, It's not, first of all, it's English. English is a new language in the whole, English is new when you're looking at the history of the world. It's a new language because people have been here running things for over
without any
200,000 years.
True.
You see, so English is a new language. So when you say God, God doesn't qualify the magnanimity of divinity, the universe, the multiverse. You know, that when you say God, it doesn't cut it, right? God is a masculine concept, right? And in spirituality, in nature, right, whoever is the creator is the feminine.
Wow.
Right? So if you want to ascribe a gender to God, it should be feminine, because even like in the womb, when the child is forming, right? When the body forms, and we are first girls first, biologically. Yes, before like the male organ will start growing.
Yeah, the female, I've read that as well.
Exactly. So, and that's why they call like places like Nigeria, Mother Nature. You get why? Right? She did not come out from nobody's ribs. We came out from her vagina.
Wow.
We all.
Wow.
Right? So that's a problem right there when you say God and say he's this, he's that. How about she? That's the creative energy, right? The woman is the portal from the spiritual to the physical. That's like the woman is the portal, navigates souls from unseen to sin.
sin.
So you cannot relegate her to she brought sin to the world. That's another fallacy. Sin came through Eve. That's not true, because the devil rebelled the presence of God, 1/3 of the presence of God, before Eve.
Was that before?
Of
True,
course
that
it
was
was.
before Eve.
Of
Yes,
course.
that
So
was
how
before
then
Eve.
do you give her the blame?
Because she gave the apple to the man to eat, and she ate the apple and she also gave to you to eat.
There's a problem
There's
there.
no part that says that he collected it. Meanwhile, he was the one that was told about the instruction, do not eat. Yet the woman gave it to him to eat, and he collected.
There's a problem with that story as well. So if you have the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right, that should be the fruit you should consume. Because
I would think
you're supposed to possess knowledge. That's what it says somewhere in the book. It says, study to show thyself approved unto the Lord. So you should study. So how then is the fruit of good and evil then forbidden? I don't get. I do not.
Are we even sure it's the fruit of good and evil?
No, that's what it says in the book.
You know, my problem is that, just like you said, you know, there's a lot of discrepancies, you know, in this creation story and then God's story and all that, you know. So different people have their different religions. It's not, you know, it's not just Christianity and what's it called? Islam, right? You know, there are different religions, and they all have their story, like their creation story, like their story about God and all that. So they talk about apart from the Garden of Eden story, at every religion that I've seen or that I've heard of and all that, they all have that masculine whatever as the god. Why is that so? You know, let's even leave Christianity or Islam now. Every other one, they are okay, except for Catholics.
Well,
I don't know now.
The Catholics, they just reverence
Mary, not that she's the God, yes.
Yeah, so
but there are those other religions. Funny enough, even all these local religions like Shango and all that, they are male.
That's not true. We're going to come there, but I wanted to jump a little bit. I want to bring your attention to the first Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Right? This council, Constantine and Eusebius. Most Christians do not know who these people are. If you're a Christian and don't know who Eusebius is, you've not even started. And I'm going to say this here. Whatever I say, look it up. Don't take me for my word. Right? Look it up. So Eusebius is referred to as the father of Christianity. Why? Because Constantine called a council of, I think Nicaea is now in Turkey today. Right? He called this council of scholars and religious leaders to bring up, to institutionalize the belief system. Constantine was a Roman emperor who did not believe in God. They were persecuting Christians. But then Eusebius wrote about him and said, oh, he had a dream that he saw if he put the cross in his armory, he's going to win. He did that and he won. So he now commercialized Christianity, merging it with pagan ways. So Sunday is actually Sunday, like S-U-N-D, as per Ra day. Right? So the Sabbath is Saturday.
Okay.
So because of the thing, when they are used to Sunday and you shift it to Saturday, no one will attend for a while. So they had to inculcate their ways. Have you asked yourself why Easter is different every year? Have you asked yourself why? What has Easter bunnies and eggs got to do with Easter? Right? So there are a lot of... So these people in that council, look it up later if you can, came together and put together what we know now as Christianity.
Really?
Right? And then there was King James, the King James Version guy. So King James was the first king of Scotland, Ireland, and the United Kingdom. Right? So it was really political for him because his mother was the queen and she was a Roman Catholic, a Catholic. And then his people were Protestants, so they didn't let her rule. She was dethroned, but King James was too small to ascend the throne at the time. So growing up in this dynamics, he saw that he had to find a way to unite his people. You see? So he walked that through, and at the end of the day, he was able to unite the people with the King James version of the Bible.
Wow.
So it was political.
for him.
right? It has nothing to do with saving anybody's soul and yes, and all of that. I would like to throw in there that the first English slave ship that sailed to Africa was called Jesus. Jesus
what?
of Lubeck. The first slave ship.
Wow.
He was sanctioned. He was commissioned by the Queen, I think Victoria at the time, and the Pope. So it was called Jesus of Lubeck. Jesus stands for Joint European Slave Union Ship. JESUS.
But why?
In 1555.
But Jesus was a name even back then.
The name was Yeshua. There's no J in the Jewish alphabet.
True.
So Christianity is a European culture.
That I know.
Right? So there are these things, and you cannot, Jesus is not even the first savior kind of story. Jesus was coined, he was plagiarized from African spiritual texts. So it was Heru, then the Greeks mixed it up and called him Horus. Then that character Horus interpreted into Jesus because Horus was born via Immaculate Conception from the ancient Egyptian myth, right? So,
Yes, okay.
see, everything...
So you are saying Jesus is not the first and only Immaculate Conception?
Nah.
Wow.
Nah. Yeah, so Jesus is not the first...
It's not the first Immaculate birth?
Yeah, so I was trying
conception.
to explain from the what they call the highly... Okay. We have the longest held history in the world, like Africans. That's what is in Egypt.
Longest
held history,
okay.
like written history in the world.
Okay.
So that's what is in Egypt: the walls, the tombs, all those things.
Hieroglyphics.
Yeah. So it's called Meduneter by the ancients. So Meduneter means the language of nature. Neta is like nature. So Meduneter, the language of nature. So in this text, so they've compiled it into a book form. So you have like, I think the coming forth by day is the name, but the Greeks called it the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So when you hear that, it feels like, what am I doing with the Book of the Dead, But this is what they call it. So it's compiled of the pyramid text, the coffin text, So in this text, you can see that there was Asa, right? Asa is Osiris in the Greek eyes.
Okay.
So there's Asa, there's Aset. So Asa married Aset, and then there's Set. We'll go back to Shango. I wanted to highlight something, right?
Okay.
And then there's Set. Set, his brother.
Yeah.
So Set kills Asa and leaves Aset, his wife, without a child. But because of the special connection they share, so Set dismembered his body into 13 pieces and spread it everywhere, right? So Asa, because of the love she had, she conjured the spirit of her husband. She put the body together and then embalmed it together. But the
13 pieces.
Yes, the reproductive part was missing, right? So she had to do some conjuring, and she got him to have an erection. That is a myth, right? Most of these stories are myths.
Okay.
So she got him to have an erection, and they made love in that spiritual realm, and she got pregnant with Heru. Right? So Heru is now Horus. Isis is Aset, because the Greeks invaded North Africa and took everything and mixed it up and made it their own. Then the Romans invaded the Greeks. You see how this works? So the Romans took this thing, plagiarized it, painted it white, and gave it back to us.
Wow.
Right, as Jesus. So that story now is the Jesus story, Immaculate Conception. She got pregnant with a dead husband.
Wow.
You understand? So it is our concept. It's an African concept. This is like the first recorded ever of this thing. This is like the first record of it. The Aset and Isis and
so
Asa
it's not a God thing. It's not God that sends his only begotten son down.
It is not. So let's jump to the Shango story. It says Shango was a man. You see, Africans, our African spirituality is holistic. We understood that we are one with nature. So the ancient, those Bantu people, the people from like the old, so they called themselves the land. So like what the ancient, that Congo where life started from, it was called Tarseti. Right? Okay, Tarseti is like Nubia, right? So Ta means land.
Okay.
That's how they refer to themselves. Tamari is like Upper Egypt, is land. You understand? So we understood that nature is divine. We are a product of nature, right? And nature is God. If you put the land, the tree, the water, me, you, air, the birds at the same time, that's what God is.
Wow.
So Shango is a masculine energy that represents courage. So Shango was not an actual Yoruba deity walking on the earth. Shango was, yes, Shango was a metaphor for the people to understand that they personified courage, right? So there's Shango, there's Oya, there's Ogun, there is Yemoja, there's Olokun. Ajay is the son of Olokun. That's why people say Ajay. Oh, I'll make this money, Ajay. Olokun is the bottom of the sea. So the bottom of the sea holds the wealth. So her child is Ajay, the wealth. Right? So these are principles in nature that we personify to build ourselves to attain the highest form of human existence. So Oya, the feminine, married Shango. Oya represents change, right? So that's the feminine, your circle. That's change, right? So Oya, in order to enact change, you have to have courage. So Oya married Shango, right? But it's not enough to have courage. You need the power of transformation. So she then married Ogun.
She married two people.
Yes.
But you said these people are not physical people, that they are just...
They are principles in nature that the ancients personified to build themselves. So you have Oya, you have Shango, and you have Ogun.
Really?
Yes, in you, they're characteristics. It's just like when they say gods of Egypt. They have, I studied that Nile Valley thing a lot. So they have like Set, for instance. They have Aset, they have Horus, they have Isis, they have Jehuti. Jehuti is the principle of articulate writing and speech. So if you see the guy on the wall, you see that he has an ostrich head and he has a pen and a book. So he's doing he's the scribe.
Wow.
He's doing some writing. So these are principles. So those things, like Horus, Christ is the effects. We're not focused on Jesus, the person. We're focused on Christ, the characteristics. So if I meet you on 3rd Milan Bridge, you're tired on bus now, you have no other option, and I pass and I come and help you. I'm your Christ for that instance. People like Malcolm X, he's the Christ because he stood up to authority and spoke truth.
Savior. Okay.
Yeah. So like we need to actually ditch any religion. Most of these religions, Islam, took us to slavery before the Europeans came. Yes, that's why Africa is predominantly a Muslim continent, because the Arabs invaded us and slaughtered everybody that didn't agree. You see, before the Europeans now came. And everybody's coming with their belief system and religion. You see?
So, wow, this is really interesting. So now let's talk about how it affects us in Nigeria. How we have what do I call it? Brainwashed.
Exactly.
That,
exactly.
We don't, everything is just religion, and it has, I think the word is stuck. Like we are stuck. We can't move forward.
Yeah.
Because we have religionalized everything. And we believe that religion is everything, just say prayer. And then even if you see something or you say something, they just find a way to religionize it. And it's like we are just in our own cocoon and the world is moving and leaving us behind.
Yeah, it's a deliberate act by the colonial powers, because you have to understand the process of this thing. Before we became Christians, we were brutalized to be Christians. We didn't become Christians because there is a book called How to Make a Negro Christian. Like, it was a manuscript for plantation owners during slavery. So they preached to them things like, obey your earthly masters as you obey your master in heaven. When like they are thinking of rebelling, if they slap you this side, turn to this other side, forgive 9,000 and something times. So these are the only verses. It was, by the way, it was a crime to read at the time. During slavery, this thing happened for 500 years. So when we are lost as a people, you should understand why. We're not allowed to read. We're not allowed to be productive. So when Africa is like this, you should know that, oh, there was a gap, an intellectual gap. For 500 years is not...
500 years. That's a lot.
Slavery was active for 400 and something years, actively coming here, shipping people in their thousands for 400 years. So you can imagine how much we've lost. And these people, while they were doing this, they were studying our thing.
Yeah.
Right? So it was deliberate to dumb you down. So in the Bible, it says the black people are the descendants of Ham, the cursed child. So that explains the suffering. So these things has been passed down from generation to generation. You have to know that your DNA is a memory card. Do you know that? Like your DNA is a memory card. It has information of everything.
Exactly.
The shape of your nose, your eyes, your complexion. The memory in your lineage is there. So you will come out and start acting like your great grandmother. They'll be like, oh, she's back. She's really back because she never left.
Exactly, she never left.
So this trauma has been passed down and passed down. And so we now think that this is the way. We do not know better. Our parents did not teach us because it was lost along the line. The ones who wanted to teach, they will kill. So it's a problem when, if your God looks like you, if your God made you in his image and his likeness, and then he's white and you are black.
I don't get. I don't understand.
It's not even that there's no white person, so maybe the extraterrestrials are white, but there is a white person around. And that same white person is this person responsible for your perpetual degradation over centuries. So it's really a problem for us as black people. That's why it is like that. The Igbo people know say these things doesn't work. They just give us dogma.
Because they brought it to you, and they who brought it, they are not practicing it
at all.
As much.
At all.
But I think the reason why religion is even thriving here is because of the suffering, in quotes. Because we even pray for basic things.
Yeah.
And that's why some of the black people, or some of the Nigerians who go, travel abroad, diaspora and all that, when they live here, when they are here, they are so religious, praying and all that, and fasting, maybe to even, but once they get to that place, I've heard of people telling me that, I can't even remember the last time I went to church or something, because
exactly,
it's like there's no reason for it. Exactly. So it's not a choice.
There's no reason for it.
I'm telling you, it's not a choice that, okay, I just want to do this, because there's really no reason for it. You're not praying to God that, God, please, let me find light when I get over there.
I mean, God doesn't have any business with
NEPA. I'm telling you. But the way our brains have been wired, and then the condition of the country, and not, because I'm not going to lie that even me, God, I've not prayed that, please let me do, God, please just light, let me just bring light.
I understand.
And it does not even concern God.
It doesn't. You see, as I said earlier, it is deliberate, right? When the conquerors came, they first established churches. Then the church, the missionaries established the schools.
The schools, yeah.
So your education is coming from your oppressor, basically.
Yeah.
If he doesn't treat you right, he will never teach you right.
Exactly. And he will even teach you what he wants you to
exactly
know.
So if I can prescribe the periphery of your knowledge if I give you the stuff. So that's why we are where we are. So we they use Western religion.
Yeah.
We they use Western education. We they use Western economic policy. Our appetite is Western.
Wow.
Our dress code is Western. So is a virus, is deliberate. That's why we are here. So if you look at those kids in China, when they are like 6, they enter the factory, start doing. But here you teach the guy how to speak in tongues. You have to believe in Jesus. You have to go to Sunday school, memorize the Bible. Muslims will start teaching them the Quran. They'll start reading it. Of what use is it? Of what use is it? So this is a tool for colonization. You cannot separate religion from colonization. There's this Berlin conference. They had Berlin conference. Every Nigerian who wants to change Africa or Nigeria should be aware of this, because it's bad from the roots, right? The Berlin conference was in 1884, 85. So the Western powers, after they always say Africa is underdeveloped and Europe has been fighting war with themselves since 5000 BCE. Do you know how long ago that is? With themselves. So
with themselves.
in that same timeline, Africa was flourishing. That Nile Valley civilization was at its peak. And that's that thing going on in Ethiopia and Egypt. That's Nubia and Kemet. So Kemet is the ancient name for where it's called Egypt. Egypt is Greek, Aigopatus. That's how they form, right? So that party happening there was already going on in the interiors of Africa. So they migrated there because of the land. We can build and to stay, right? So like we are that civilization. I found out that my people, the Ijaws, you can trace them to Nile.
Wow.
Like most people, I'm overwhelmed by
Wow.
Africa is one big country. Africa is not 54, 52 states. So it's the Berlin Conference that divided us into 52 states. So because they've been in war for like 500 years, of course their place is depleted and everything, by all means depleted. So they looked to, of course they've been coming and going and, finding that we'll have stuff and going collecting but that conference, they specifically came to that conference to share up the continent.
Wow.
Yes. So it was France, Belgium, the United Kingdom, Portugal. It was 14 European powers. They had this meeting for 3 months and 14 days. What were they discussing? They were discussing how to colonize us economically, socially, educationally, spiritually. So we cannot just wake up and undo it. We have to be as deliberate as. So after that conference, they now shared everywhere. King Leopold got Congo as his personal property. Congo has the richest mineral deposit in the world. I'm sure like people don't know that. So our laptops, cobalt, our laptop and all those other things, all the minerals they used to do Tesla and all of that is coming from Congo. So that's why Congo won't be stable, because if it's stable, they will get the resources for very expensive. So they create instability, fund both sides of the war. And then, so King Leopold's legacy has been living there. Our baby Israel, most religious people love Israel, but Israel is our major problem in Africa. Israel's major export is diamonds, but they do not have one single diamond deposit. Isn't that funny? They will now say Africa is poor. So after they shared it, everybody got their piece. England got their own. They now came and we're doing business here, regardless of the people calling us savages. So we need to know that. So after the conference, there was the Niger conference. It was in 1898 or thereabout. So then the British people came and decided how they would do Nigeria, the Niger area. So when we're talking about making Nigeria better and all of that, you have to understand the fundamental of the nation. So you can't say let Nigeria be great again, because it was never great. It was just a business interest. So the British before then, the Royal Niger Company was operating in this place, exporting our cocoa, our rubber, for the Industrial Revolution in the West. Right? So the British government came to buy it from them and took over, put puppets there and say they are our founding fathers, and So while they were doing this thing, they had your spirituality in mind. They came to tell you that these things you're doing is not good. Take this one. There's this saying, in the villages that time, that when the white people came, we had our land and they had the Bible. Right? And then they said to us, close your eyes, let's pray. And we closed our eyes, right? After the prayers, we had the Bible and they had our land. Wow. So that's Shell, that's Exxon, that's Chevron, that's, all those people. So religion is the bond that holds this colonial system in place. So you think that God is white. When you close your eyes now, reference, you see a white man with blue hair, with blonde hair
It's so
and
funny.
blue
It's
eyes.
so funny because when people say they dream and they see Jesus, and I'm like, okay, read Jesus. How do you know what Jesus was like? And of course, it's what has been portrayed, what they've been put in their faces that's Jesus. That's what you see.
Exactly.
Okay, you see someone with flow. How do you know that Jesus?
The guy they actually portray as Jesus, his name is Caesar Borgia. Right? He's the cousin of Michelangelo. Michelangelo was the one who did the painting. Right? So naturally, he used his cousin.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's not Jesus.
Of course, it's not Jesus.
Right? And God doesn't dwell in a building because your body is the temple. So I don't see any essence why I'll carry the temple to a place. Like, it doesn't cut it. And how they say, okay, we are trying to spread love, Jesus is love, and all of that. These people sold us to slavery in the name of Jesus, right? They said we had no souls. We are 3/5 of a human being. So what soul do you come to save them?
Exactly.
Do you understand? So religion played, like, is playing.
Yeah, you see, that's even the point. Let's even assume and accept that, okay, we were bought, we got bought into this, like the white man bought this and then this.
Yeah.
But the thing that, it's really concerning for me now is that the blacks, we ourselves, we are now the ones that are subjecting ourselves and subduing ourselves and controlling ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
With the same religion.
It was made for us. This is what it was meant to do to us. Yes, this is the design. Right? So, like, I can't subscribe to a God who looks like my oppressor. You can't pray to the same God as your oppressor. Because while the God they answer the prayer of the oppressor, what happens to you? What happens? Europe is where they are because of exploitation of Africa. So when people say how Igbo people say how advanced it is you
that made them advance.
Exactly.
And you're not ready to do the same in your own country.
Exactly. So that's what they did to us. They see it's strategic, it's a psychological stuff, right? And we passed it down. So Jesus is white and Satan is black. You see, I read in my book of Bible stories, so I know all their paintings, their illustrations, the devil is black, like me.
Yeah, true.
Right? I always ask myself growing up, like, why is this so? That's why bleaching is prevalent. Who makes the bleaching cream? The West. Who they use them? Now, so they are making mad money off us still. I can't subscribe to the Bible. Is a very controversial book.
It is.
There's somewhere in Revelations 1:14 and 15, they describe Christ when he died and went to hell and ascended. They said his eyes were like unto burning flames. His hair was like wool, and his feet was unto fine brass. This is the color of brass.
Yeah, that's color of brass. It's not. That's true. That's true.
That's the only place they described the appearance. I've told a lot of devoted Christians these things. They open the book and see, but they will still push me to the curb. It is the program. Like, it is very rigid. I've lost a lot of friends because of my conviction. And my journey is funny because, of course, I was born into a Christian home, right? And I wanted to know this Christ to have the peace of mind that they go. The deeper I go, the messier it is. In the house of God. I started reading stuff, read this, read that. I now realize that there's a book I stumbled upon. The title of the book is My Love for Christ Led Me to Islam.
Wow.
So when you look at the Quran, they mention Jesus Christ way more than they mentioned Muhammad. His name is Isa in the Quran. Yeah. So they understood the significance of this character. They didn't refer to him as the Son of God. Son of God, yes. Just they didn't agree that he died and ascended. So he's just another prophet of Allah. So they even have Surah the Maryam, like it's like a whole chapter for the mother of Christ. You understand? So these two religions are actually siblings. is an Abrahamic triangle, right? Abraham begot Ishmael and Isaac. Abraham is a Jew, Ishmael is the Muslim, and Christ is the Christian. So it's the same thing. It's the Jewish manipulation of. And for the records, there's no time the Jews were held captive in Egypt. Egypt has the longest held history in the world. Yes, there's no time. The only time such people came, they were the Hyksos. That's what they call the people. And they invaded the motherland from the north. Right? So that the invasions happened, the Hyksos came, the Assyrians came, the Persians came, the Greeks came, the Romans came. So they adulterated our story on those walls as much as they could. You know? So when these people came, when they invade up north, upper Kemet, the people go like to lower Kemet and regroup, and then come and take over and chase the people away. You know, so when the Hyksos were there, when they take over, of course there will be prisoners of war, right? Yeah. But the ancients had respect for life, so their own symbol was called the Ankh, right? The Ankh is like the cross, but it has a loop on top. Like, you know, the cross.
Okay, I know that. Yeah. I know.
So, like, they had respect for life, so they cannot just. That's the symbol of life anyway. So the loop on top represents the feminine reproductive part, like your womb, right? So the lower part represents the phallics of a man, right? So when these two unite, there is a product, a child. So you have like the thing in between. So our idea of the Trinity, the ancient African idea of Trinity, is the mother, the father, and the child. Because at some point, these three entities are one. So when the sperm fertilizes the egg and that spin starts, three of them are one in that magic, right? And then the mother and the father reproduces their self in the child. So that's our Trinity in the ancient. So we had regard for life. So when we capture them, we let them serve a time and let them go. Not just to let them go, we give them stuff, livestock, food. You know, so it wasn't a case of that kind of slavery, they say.
So if you're saying it wasn't a case of that kind of slavery, then that means this Moses story was
a lie. Say it as it is.
Oh wow. There was never a Moses who came to.
They twisted the whole narrative to cut away Africa from greatness. That's what it's about. When you go to Egypt, you see all this, the thing they call the Sphinx, and the ancients call it Nesut Biti. Language is very important. I'm deliberately trying to call it the old name. So naming is very important, right? So that's why it's wrong to translate Yeshua to Jesus. There's an agenda there. They don't translate names. That's like literature 101. Yes, you don't translate names, right? So if you check these things they call the Sphinx, the nose, they shut off the nose. Why? Because there's a distinct African nose. You can't miss it. Like our nose is broad, usually. Like, you know, the European nose is straight.
It's straight, yeah.
And it's because of the terrain. Here we need more air. So your nostrils are expand as you develop. You know, you develop with respect to your environment. So if you drop a child in the jungle with the monkeys, he'll walk on his fours.
Definitely.
You know, so our nose is broader because of our terrain, and their nose is slimmer because they are in the cold poles. So you don't need that much cold to enter your brain. Your brain will freeze because now plasma, you know, there's water there so you can freeze. So you see, they are trying to hide us from our legacy. You see, so everything you know about spirituality and religion and scriptures and all of that is our stuff. So we need to go. A friend of mine will say, we need to go black.
I go black.
Because when you go back, the blacker it gets. The first human that walked on this earth is, like, medicine has traced it to a single African woman that probably sprouted from somewhere in the Congo. So they call the gene the mitochondrial gene. the gene that is able to
Medicine has
produce.
traced that.
Yes, now like technology has like archaeology and technology and DNA sciences and forensics, you know. So they call her Lucy. They call it the Eve gene, but Eve is like 6,000 years ago. That's like downplaying it. They want to make everything white. You know, this woman, the record shows that she has been, the gene is as old as 800,000 years. You see, so that gene is able to mutate to every other race in the world. The mitochondrial gene. Look it up, you'll be surprised. It's a black woman. She bore us all. You understand? So everything started here. We have to know that. And the religion as we know it.
Wait, sorry to cut you, but if everything started here, where did they come from?
There's something called eugenics. Eugenics is like the manipulation of genes. So the Caucasian race, medically, is a new race on the earth. Like they are okay. You know how we have white rats in the lab and not outside in nature. Do you know why?
Well, I don't know.
Those rats are made in those labs.
Oh,
They are not, yes, they are not like out there. You cannot see a white rat running around your house.
Exactly.
Or in the dustbin, right? But you see them in the lab. And if you bring them out and leave them, they won't run. They are mutations from the actual, and you know that medical advancements for humans started with mammals, rats, because they are mammals. So that experiment was conducted on the rats and it was a success and they transferred it. There's actual research work to back what I'm saying. It's not my work or what I think is out there. The subject is called eugenics. It's the manipulation of genes, like mutations, you know. So you have like trees like orange trees where go produce guava.
Yay.
Yes, like it's out there. Like people, this grafting, that's what they call it. People genetically engineer these things, you know. So
but out there were in the labs.
Yes, in the labs.
Okay.
In the labs. So you extract the melanin, basically. Melanin is what's responsible. It has a chemical, it has a name in chemistry and chemical compound. And it's carbon, basically. You know, so that's what's responsible for the pigmentation of your skin and, you know, all of that. So they kind of extract it and some other things. And so that's why those white rats are weaker. They are recessive.
Yeah.
Yes. So the Caucasians are recessive. They have recessive genes. They don't produce as much. You cannot say a white woman with 6 children. You know they happen. She can't produce like that.
Are you sure?
Yeah. For the most part, like when you look at an average, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but when you look at it across board, it's rare. It's like 15%. That's F9. You know?
That's true.
Yeah, so they are new people. Johnny come lately, as one of my teachers would like to call them. Right? So this process, it took a while, of course, you know. So these people they are our children, basically.
Wow.
You know, so black people are. So if anybody wants to force,
but if that is the case, if that is so, how come they are the ones subduing us?
Exactly.
When it's supposed to be the other way around.
We had a 500 years gap in everything, in knowledge, in, you know, when the Europeans first came, they came as our friends. Yes, they came bowing down to our monarchs. When they first came to Benin, they laid on the floor for the Oba, you know. And Africans are, because we have regard for life, because of the Ankh and we welcome them. Who are these? Our brothers from another mother, you know, that kind of thing. We welcome them. We taught them the ways, taught them our traditional ways, taught them how to manipulate and everything. And then they saw that we had stuff, but we know they abuse them. We harness energy such that we do not pollute nature. You know? So it's funny how they call us savages, but when they came to the Benin Empire, we had knowledge of metallurgy, we had knowledge of electricity, We had knowledge of craft and science, medicine, dance, music.
Because we had everything going for us.
Exactly. We have artifacts. There's this artifact they returned like I think 5 years ago to Benin. The artifact is like 13 feet tall, right? With intricate precision. Intricate precision. And they built it with alloys. Alloys now metal we join together to make them stronger.
You
Right.
see, sorry to cut you, but you know, this just brought something to mind because, and then they call us uneducated.
Exactly.
How can you be uneducated to be able to do stuff like that?
Exactly.
But they want to cage us with their own system of education
Exactly.
that it has to be this way.
Exactly.
And that's what I've been saying lately, like, you know, like education. We had education going on, and education doesn't have to be within the 4 walls. Now everybody's running. I must go to. They have planned our life.
Yeah.
Kindergarten,
Yeah.
nursery,
Yeah.
primary,
Yeah.
you know, university, and then it's just getting paper, getting qualifications. And sometimes at the end of the day, you see that people just rush to do those things just to
fulfill all righteousness.
exactly, just to fulfill righteousness. At the end of the day, that's not really who they are,
Yeah.
or that's not really what they want to do and all that. But I don't know, how are we even going to get out of this?
So is the Western cage is deliberate. Like I said, like I keep saying, it's deliberate. You know, they had a meeting for 3 months and 15 days. You know, it's deliberate. They came
Why
up
didn't
with
we have our own meeting?
because we did not have conquering somebody else in mind. Mind you, Africans sailed the corners of the earth before the Europeans started moving. So you have indigenous Japanese people who are darker than I am. Like you see the Japanese face, but they are as black as can be.
Oh, wow.
Those
I
ones.
thought that was only in India.
No, it's everywhere across the world. Those ones are the indigenous people, and they relegate them to like conservative spaces.
Yes, like they are the bad eggs.
Yes. Let's take them out. They are not civilized. You know, so these are the issues. You know, these things affect us. Just imagine, I used to work somewhere. I had a contract job one time with an oil servicing company. So we're servicing an oil company. So we were there like on board. It was like a swamp area, right? So we sleep there like in the cabins and all. So in the mornings, we have like our toolbox meeting by 6. Toolbox like to discuss the activity of the day and all of that. It's for like 1 hour from 6 to, I think it was 45 minutes. So from 6 to 6:45, then breakfast, then 8, then work starts, right? These people will pray for 35 minutes, binding and casting, praying for God to deliver the job. You have left the time for you to analyze and deliver the job. I was always mad at them. Like you always see that this guy is dissatisfied with this thing. I will not close my eyes. I will not sing. I will not clap. Like they were not looking at me.
And
like,
you'll be seen as the devil. Like
of
you are
course,
the bad person. You are going to
I don't mind being seen as a devil because the devil has an essence. If not, if for no day,
exactly.
we'll come to that because if you want to give, you have to give God the credit or blame for Satan. If he created everything and he knows all, right? So, like
finally, someone is thinking like me.
Of course. So these people will pray. Funny, there were some expatriates who were expecting, and these people were Israelis, right? So they always pray, oh, the Israelis are coming, your children, God of Isaac, Jacob, and yada, yada, yada. When these Israelis come, let them make here your... I was telling one of my colleagues, you see these people that will come and bring down everything you people are doing. These Israeli people finally came. The first thing they did when they came was to try to stop that toolbox meeting. The guy that always leads the prayer and say, oh, they wanted to fire the guy. These are the Israelis, where
That
they
are
say we
supposed
need
to
the
be-
children of God to come and
children
save
of
us.
God, yes.
You know, and then the management of those people scattered the company because they were shaking everywhere, like, and everybody. Once you're just say, this is my work. It's in I go pray, God go, you are going home. You are going home because you obviously do not know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You understand? So, like these are the issues. When like I had, because I'm not sure say the person or my friend anymore. Like when I complain my struggles to her, oh, I'm doing this, I'm facing this, I'm facing that, which is normal. Life now ups and downs.
Yeah.
I've realized that life is about the struggles. If you look at how, when you study nature, that's why we need to go back to our ancient ways. We studied nature. When you study nature, you know how to live, right? So when you see how plants grow on slow-mo, you will know how much pain. If to say that flower fit shout, if I don't they shout. Because when you see how they squeeze to come out from the earth, for the roots, for the leaves to come out, it's going to if you look at this thing slow-mo, you will understand that there is pain in this thing. That's how childbirth is.
Yeah.
That's how every process of growth is. So we should be taught not to complain or run away from pain, but to handle it properly. Yeah. So these are the things. So they will say, oh, when you know God, you know peace, no more suffering, no more. That's a lie. As a matter of fact, when you want to do spiritual things, you face the most resistance.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we need to recalibrate. It's going to take a lot. But we need to, the first place to start. Yes, the first place to start to get ourselves back is to ditch religion. Religion is the first place
I'm
to.
telling you.
There are a lot of things.
If we just remove it from Nigeria, just remove it.
Yes.
And then.
There are a lot of things. Even speaking in tongues, that's arrant nonsense. I'm sorry.
They say they spoke in tongues.
I'll draw it from the Bible. Yes, that's where I'm going to come from. Right? I read the book. Most Christians don't read the book. They just, when pastors say open to John, preach leader, when they reach out, they don't keep on or they'll keep on for their car to prevent accidents. I don't even know where. You see, I don't know where that comes from. So when they were in the upper room and the Spirit of God fell upon them, they started speaking words, other tongues.
That other people could understand.
Exactly. So as an Ijaw man, right, I'll start speaking Dutch. I don't like to use African language. As an Ijaw man, I'll start speaking Swahili.
Yeah.
That I do not have any idea of.
And somebody who is Swahili or whatever in that crowd
exactly, and know that this is from God.
Exactly, because, and that's why they said there was tongues and interpretation of tongues.
So you see somebody saying rabba rabo, rabba rabo, robo. This is actually speaking in tongues in their paradigm. So I'm spirit filled like this by this thing what I just do. Do you understand? So I asked one girl one day, "What's this?" She said, "It's to confuse the devil." God, that's the dumbest thing I've heard in my. I'm like, I looked at this girl like, are you kidding me? Devil will rebel the presence of God.
Abio, what are you confusing?
You see, so when you go into the church, you just take your brain. You don't need this anymore.
You put it, yes, at the gate. They pack it together and then give you something else. Because I really don't understand. And then, it's even amazing because they also even teach you in church that you should not question.
Exactly.
You should not question. So they should just, as it is, you cannot understand God if you try to. You must, everything they tell you, you must take it like that. Meanwhile, they're exploiting you.
So why will God give you a brain if you do not use it? That's like, I don't even understand. And there's somewhere, I think Peter also said, study to show thyself approved. So you read the word. He said you shouldn't condemn stuff. Read the word and take that which suits you. Right? And they don't question narrative. It's just, you just want to cuddle me back to sleep. Like you want to, how can you say I shouldn't ask questions? I mean, like.
See, you shouldn't ask questions. That's the mystery behind God. Don't ask.
There's no mystery behind God. That's one thing. I say God in quote. I like to say nature or netar, as those Kemetic people will call it, right? So nature is not a mystery. You are part of nature. So if you want to understand God, you have to start with yourself.
But are you saying that there's no one supreme being that is in charge of, everything, so to say?
Supreme being. Everything is a force, like, right? Like, when you say being, it feels like Well, being is not human. Okay. So
Yeah.
by the definition of being is something
Like a
alive.
spirit, yeah.
The world is alive. I don't know if that makes sense. Like whatever that be, people think something is up there. There's no sky daddy coming to save anybody, right? People always the
So you
thing
don't believe in
is
rapture?
not at all. That's like there's no hell, like there's no heaven. Like clergymen from the Vatican are now saying these things. But when I say
Yeah,
it,
yeah. They are saying that there's no hell now.
at a particular time, there was a particular, I've forgotten the date where they included these things to instill fear. So fear will drive you
Control, control.
to what they want you to do. Most of us were Christians because, you see that hellfire, it's not me. That's just the reason. Not because you understand what you're doing or what
But
the
then
life of
it's in
Christ
the
is.
Bible. Are you saying that it was just
The Bible is not,
fabricated?
it was in the first council of Nicaea.
Hmm.
Right? It was, people put stuff. There's an element of truth. It's not even truth per se. It is lessons to learn. Like growing up, I used to watch Taste by Moonlight. So they will say, oh, tortoise went to heaven. And the other animals, they wanted to give them something. They asked their names. Tortoise say, my name is all of you. They asked
Yes.
everybody, sign. Say, chicken. Say, okay, oh, this is for all of you. Tortoise go jack up. This is for all of you. It came time to go. And the load was too much for the guy to carry. You know, so struggling, he now fell and broke his shell. They now tried to gum it for him. You and I know that's not how the lines in the shell came. But after the story, the auntie will ask them, children, what's the moral of the story? They'll say, oh, don't covet other people's stuff. Oh, don't be greedy. That's what the religion is about.
Wow.
Right? So the stories are to teach you how to live. He said it in the book somewhere. He said, carry your cross and follow me. Why? Your cross is for you to be nailed on. Right? So if you walk the walk of Christ, you will die the death of Christ. Christ did not come to save, to take anybody's sins away. If not, there won't be judgment. Right? He came to show you how to live. How to live here. He didn't come to die for anybody's sins. He died because he spoke truth to authority. So that's why I referred to Malcolm X as Christ for the black people. Martin Luther King as Christ for the black people. Steve Biko, Ken Saro-Wiwa for the Niger Delta people. You know, these people stood for the truth and died. Most Christians will say, make God, now God go fight for himself. Oh, he's in God's hands. Is
that not how we are in Nigeria? If not, should we be where we are? Because nobody's ready to face and fight. You know, we are all like saving our head. I beg me.
Then we shouldn't
and if everybody's everybody in my corner, as long as my corner, nobody wants to fight for the greater good.
Yeah, we have a problem. So you see, say Jen, small Jen, the name is I better pass my neighbor.
I pass my neighbor.
That's a mental stuff.
You can imagine.
Anytime I think about it, I'll be like, if you open your eyes, right? Not be this one.
Your mind's eye.
Exactly, the third eye. Right. You will see how these things permeate everything. I better pass my neighbor. So how do we want to be better as a collective when you don't do better pass your neighbor?
Exactly.
You're buying fuel the same price. The road to your house is equally bad. You know they equally get lights, right? So, and it's this thing, when you go to church, the pastor will tell you, you'll be the first in your family to be a billionaire. Not be me and you, I'll walk out of that church.
And then the amen will be the loudest.
So you want my family people to now be slaves to me? You see? So, like, there's a problem, like, fundamentally with
it's really a fundamental problem, and I don't know how. I would have thought that in this day and age, you know, like with technology and everything that is coming up, and with the world changing and everything, like all these things will change. But you know, like I always tell people, like, you know, education does not change. What did I say? Was it tradition or something? Because you see some people, they are vast, they are well read, they have PhD, but you see that their mindset, it does not change.
The question is,
and you'll be wondering,
who educated you? The same guy who sold you into slavery. What do you expect?
But you know, I heard somewhere that slavery actually started from Africa, that we were actually enslaving or selling ourselves before the white man actually came.
That's not true. You know, people try to always blame Africa for the state of Africa. Like we never see there were so many resistance to the colonial. That's why Haiti is where Haiti is the first like free black space in the world. Like I mean, after the slavery, because those it wasn't even like the people were indigenous. There were people that were brought from the Caribbeans and everywhere, and they say, oh, if you can find yourself to Haiti, you'll be free. There's a guy called Dessalines, and I've forgotten the other guy's name. They put up a rebellion and killed the French. I think it was the French occupying that space at the time. You know, took over the place and chased the people there. The ones that were remained, they told them that we have to inculcate you into our, you have to pledge allegiance to us to stay, or you leave, or we'll kill you. Some of them that thought they were joking, they slaughtered them all. Right? So that's why Haiti, the West does not like Haiti till today. And Haiti has so many natural disasters because they are manipulating their lithosphere. The lithosphere is under the ground, I think. So the narrative is that God is punishing them, you know. So like there were plenty resistance movements across the continent, like a lot. Some Africans went to the Caribbeans and the Americas to bring back slaves. Have you heard of the Igbo landing?
No.
Everybody should know that story. The Igbo landing is a story of the Igbos, I think 70 of them, that they took from here across the Atlantic. So they deceived them that they were going for greener pastures and such. So halfway they realized that this is a slave voyage. What did they do?
Okay, on sea.
Yes.
I think
They killed everybody and took over the ship. But at the time, they have already reached they are close. They can see the shores of where they were going to be sold to. So instead of going to be sold into slavery, they held hands and chanted Igbo songs and walked into the river till they disappeared. You know, like the bodies didn't come out. Of course, if you have 70 bodies floating, it will cost quite no such event.
So when
Good question. So the natives of that place will say, if you come out at night, you will hear those songs.
Wow.
Have you seen? There's this movie, I think it was Wakanda 2, where they had like creatures living underwater.
Yeah.
So in that movie, they had this when the explorers came, they wanted to find the vibranium. So they were now chanting some frequency that messed up. They were trying to play that thing. You know, they were trying to play that Igbo. It's an Igbo story.
Wow.
The Igbo landing, that's what it's called. So there were a lot of movements like this all across Africa, but they deliberately put those ones down and tell you that when they came, they brought mirror and something and gave up. We had idea of metallurgy. There was the Great Wall of Benin. The Great Wall of Benin is like 2 times the Great Wall of China. Yeah.
Wow.
The explorers blew it up just to remove the evidence. There's a step pyramid in Enugu. Do you know that? Like a pyramid. Like the one somewhere in Egypt and the one somewhere in Mexico and all around the world. So I'm jumping, just boys, everything is connected. I wanted to touch on the pyramids of Giza real quick, right? Those pyramids in Giza, there are 3 pyramids in Giza, right? They are aligned with each other, right? Those pyramids, they were not built by aliens anyway. They were built by Africans, right? Those things were not tombs. They were giant power plants. So the ancients harnessed the energy from the earth without harming the earth. So how did it work? I studied physics, so it made a lot of sense when I stumbled into it. So the pyramids in Giza, there are 3 of them, they are aligned. By the way, they are aligned with the constellation of Orion in the sky. So if you come out in the night skies where there's stars everywhere, if you look around, you see 3 stars that align. Those things align mathematically with those 3 pyramids of Giza.
Wow.
Yes. So it was built on a plateau. Plateau now, ground where water they flow under. So if you check the architecture, they have a shaft they drill to the ground to harness the ocean currents. right? The water flow under. So that thing is connected to a giant coil where they have the king's chambers. They say, oh, that's where they bury the king. But the place is like 6 times bigger than the human size. So it doesn't explain it. So that place is where they put the giant coil. So the coil will amplify that current gotten from there and send it to different places. So if you check now, the materials they used to build the pyramids were highly conductive, like the granites and all of that. And those things are precious. So when the explorers came, they scraped it off, you know. So the capstone is gold, pure gold. Gold is the highest conductor after water.
Wow.
So they put it there. The essence is at the pinnacle, so it will shoot the energy to the stars up there. And then they can tap energy anywhere in the world. So these people were sending images and sound wirelessly.
Wow.
Yes. There's a physicist called Nikola Tesla. That's the real father of electricity. But they gave his study to Thomas Edison because his work threatened the Industrial Revolution, the oil boom, and the Rockefeller stuff, right? Tesla replicated this technology somewhere in the US because he was the one that harnessed Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls are waterfalls that he made to an electric dam. So people said he lit the night skies up. So the exact setup of those pyramids, that's what he did. So he was trying to show the world that you don't need to pay for tariffs.
Yeah.
If you have this
They
technology, you
won't
can
want-
generate.
Yeah,
Exactly.
They don't want now.
So guess what? Tesla died a poor, lonely guy.
Imagine.
They confiscated most of his work and destroyed the most of it. Now gave some of his work to Thomas Edison. So he's the electric guy. So everything from your ring boiler to the Tesla technology, it is Tesla's idea. So that's why the car is Tesla.
Yeah. Okay.
Like people do not know. So it's actually Nikola Tesla. He's the father of electricity.
Wow.
You see, so these things,
It's a lot.
yes, these things, they now bring religion and put at the surface. So you can't even ask deep questions. You dig? So those people, they always say, oh, the pyramids were built by aliens and they cannot move the stones from, because the materials they used to build it are not from that place. They carried it from. So like last year or so, I realized how possible it was. And it will blow your mind. So they used sound. You know, like sound can make objects weightless. Like if you put like pins on a piano and hit a certain pitch, it will levitate. Yeah. Sound has its frequency. So yes, so that's how they were able to lift those things. They were actual people. So you hear of like one of the pharaohs. Pharaoh is the Greek word. I think the word is Nesut Biti. So most of there's one called Imhotep, right? These guys are everything. So when they want to depict them, they have human body and maybe an animal head, maybe falcon or hawk or so it was like is a metaphor, right? So I have conquered my animalia and I'm operating on a higher human frequency. So the birds now the characteristics like the falcon, that's Heru, that's Horus, now is a falcon, that's the head of the bird. So if the falcon, hawk, and eagle, I think, are the only birds who fly above the clouds when it's raining, you know, and they have like eagle's eye, the eagle's vision, Heru's vision, like the third eye. So they have, so from up there, they can see the fish in the river. So that's the idea. So the vision as sharp as Heru. So they have, okay, Heru, like Horus. So these are, it's not really people with animal heads, right? So the pharaoh built the pyramids. He knows everything. He's the father of medicine, architecture, music. Like he knows all the disciplines. Healing, you know. So in those days, we knew like everything. We knew our environment. It's important you know that. So we know the mineral domain, we know the plant domain, we know the animal domain. Then we now deal with our self, the spirituality part of us, you know. So when you combine these things, you live like a god on earth, right? Yes, you control, you know, like you know everything. So when you have stomach upset, you know that if I use this herb, I'll be good. When I want to, this thing. So this is how, we do not have words for prison. or thief or rape or abortion, or we do not have those words in our African literature. These things are Western, you know. So they pushed religion alongside their culture. That's why we're white. See how I'm dressed. I'm dressing like a white man. You know, I'm supposed to wear some African attire. I'm looking to move toward that paradigm where you see me and you see everything African. You know, so we don't just speak African, we walk the talk. You know? So, yeah, we need to go black.
Wow, I wonder, I don't know how we can do this. You know, it's even worse these days because they've even stopped teaching history in schools.
It's deliberate.
I don't know.
Because we found out that
who even
Mongo Park did not actually find the Niger. That place was called Kora before Mongo, and there were people indigenous. It was the people actually who took Mongo Park to the river. You know, see, everything about Africa and religion is intertwined. The depression of Africa is connected to religion directly. You know, Islam and Christianity.
God help us.
God won't help us. We need to help ourselves.
We need to help ourselves.
Because we left this thing in the hands of God for over 700 years and we're still here. Yeah, so it brings us back to my first question then. Who is God? That's why I started with that definition. So when you say, let's leave it to God, you have to understand who you are leaving it to. Is this male, chauvinistic, egotistic character who needs justification, you know, to feel good?
Yeah.
You know, okay, if you read the Bible, you will know that the God of the Jews is the highest killer of all time.
You know, yeah, I even heard it. Someone said it once, I think I read it, I don't know, that God has killed more people than Satan has.
Than Hitler, yeah.
And then we are saying the devil.
He said it somewhere in the Bible. Say, I bring all the good and evil. I am the bringer of all.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you are the beginning and the end, you know all things beginning from the end and all that. So why, you know, it just makes you question some things. So why are some things the way they are? And then if indeed you are the beginning and the end, you know all things and you can do all things. Okay, let's even assume that you had issues with Lucifer. Then why not sort your issue with Lucifer? Why bring us into it? Because I believe it's something you could just have done, just like that. Okay, you just stay there. And then putting the tree of good and evil in the, why put it there in the first place?
That's like the tree of good and evil is supposed to be something. My people perish for the lack of knowledge.
And that's
so why are you mad that I went to eat from the tree of knowledge?
And if you don't want me to have the knowledge, why put it there? And so why am I punished for it? Okay, because you must have known, if you know the beginning from the end, that I was going to go there.
Exactly.
So, you know, sometimes some people say that we are just pawns, you know, like,
we are. You are pawn when you subject yourself to that theology. Right? That's when you become a pawn. The religion is designed to make you a pawn, but you are supposed to be a king. You're supposed to walk on the earth with your head up high.
Yeah.
Right? That whole beginning Genesis story is just flawed. Plus, it's just 6,000 years ago. Right? And he said, oh, God created this and he went to rest. And the devil crept in. See, these energies are equal and opposite. The one you call God and the one you call Satan, they are equal and opposite. They complement. It's the yin and the yang. That's why God will never kill Satan, because once God kills Satan, God disappears. You cannot, that's why they call people stars, because stars only shine at night. That's the paradox.
Wow.
And it's wrong to say light came and the darkness comprehended it not. That's ignorance. Because darkness begot light. Yes, the light came forth from the darkness. So without, and you need darkness to appreciate light. So those two energies are, that's why God can't kill Satan. That's why somewhere in the book of Job, he said, this is how it is in the Bible. God sent for the children of God, and amidst them came Satan. He now asked him. He didn't rebuke him when he came among the children. He now asked him, what are you doing here? Dialogue. Chilled dialogue, no tensions. what are you doing here? He said, I'm roving, looking for who to kill, to destroy.
Abio, you have sent me away now, so.
He now said, God now said, have you seen my son Job? By the way, Job was the most diligent guy in his time. Like, he did everything right. Everything. So you see how egotistic God is? That's my son Job. The devil now said to him that, you've given him everything. He has no reason to turn against you. God told him, take away everything. Don't take his life. So the devil took away his wealth and his health.
His health,
You know, the only thing Satan left there for him was the woman to tell him to curse God. Why I brought up this story is that there is a synergy, God and Satan. He called for the children of God, and amidst them came Satan. So when you sing in a church, you don't fall for God, the joke is on you. Because Satan, they your pulpit, they administer false doctrine to you. You know, I wonder how Christians go to sleep knowing that you eat the flesh of God and drink his blood. God damn. Like, how can you say okay, if you want to remember your grandmother, you go chop her body and drink her blood?
Hey, but Jesus told them to do that.
I mean, what kind of barbaric vampire stuff is that? Do you get? There are a lot of... When the children of Israel in the book left, by the way, the only people in this world that have been taken away from their land and held captive in a strange land and subjugated to labor is the black people for 400 years. Not the Jews.
So is it that the black people are the Israelites
we are the true children of God? It even makes sense scientifically, because if you are of God, right, you are a child of God like that, and the black people are the first human beings to manifest on the face of the earth. So if God made man, then God made us first. You see? So these things, we need to. So when, in the story, when they said, they left Egypt, so the children of God, is not those people. The people in Israel today are the ancient Europeans, the Hyksos people that Hitler wanted to annihilate. He killed 6,000 of them, right? Until today, they are paying reparations to the Jews for that. Till today, right? So the United Kingdom and America came together to give them that land as part of compensation and reparations. The land now, the Palestinian land, is not theirs. You know? So the only people in actual history who were displaced from their homes and taken into slavery in a strange land, and they were singing strange songs, were the black people. Right? Wow. So the whole Bible story and everything is misconstrued.
This is a lot.
It is actually. There's still a whole lot to say, but
guys, honestly, we want to keep talking. I don't think we'll leave here today. It's a lot. But then this is a cue for you to go and search yourselves, you know. Go and learn. All he has said, all the things he said today, go and search. Go on the internet, search. You will see. I think we need a mind shift. We need to start thinking differently, seeing things differently, knowing the truth, and stop hiding behind, no, I don't want
to. Sorry to jump in.
Blasphemer.
Yes, sorry to jump in. Truth is different from facts. Truth is relative. So you need to know the facts. So someone born in Saudi Arabia, the truth is Muhammad is his guy. Someone born in the Christian home, the truth is Jesus is his guy. But the fact is, both of them are alien to you as an African. So we need to dwell on truth.
Not on facts.
On facts, I mean.
Not on truth.
On facts as against truth. Right, so.
You need to dwell on facts. I'm tempted to say there'll be a part 2 of this, but, you know, just go and go and take this down, rest, and search, and do further, you know, what would I call it now? Digging by yourself, you know. And I'm sure that you have enjoyed this video. So just click that like button now and also subscribe so that you can get notifications when we have new videos like this and much more. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles at the Eagle Online. And that will be all for today. My guests would like to say bye to the guests.
Yeah. In closing, I would like to say we've been talking about problems, right? I would like to prefer a direct solution, right?
Okay.
The direct solution is to ditch Western religion. Just let it go.
Is it just religion or everything Western?
Religion first. Religion is the bond, covalent bond that is holding everything in place. So once you remove religion, you'll be able to think. That thing over your head, they say don't ask questions, you will now start asking questions. And when you start asking questions, it will now lead you to changing everything from the political system to the justice system to the... We need to stop wearing all those wigs, all those judges wearing all those wigs. We're wearing European hair. So yeah, we need to ditch it and learn our indigenous ways, because spirituality lies in the core of your culture.
Yeah.
So you need to go back to Amadioha as an Igbo person, or the Orishas as a Yoruba person, or I know it has been adulterated and bastardized, but look at the root of it, like the essence of it, and then
know your history, go back
and have real love.
Everything,
have real love, like really love your neighbor as you love yourself.
And that one can be hard, but we move.
Yeah. That's the hard. The hard part is the main part.
Okay. So that'll be all for today, guys. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.